How is your vision, my friend? Do you have a large vision? Do you have a wonderful, magnificent vision for the world? A wonderful, magnificent vision for this country or for your community or whatever your particular area of focus is? Uh, are you able to transcend all of those things which seem to not be going in the right direction towards your vision? Are you able to continue to enlarge more and more every day, enlarge that vision, to see more and more of the solutions and more of the directions that which it needs to go, so that you can turn this way and that way as needed to continue toward that vision? Well, we need to realize, foremost, in order to get this all to working right, we've got to visualize and realize that God has a magnificent vision already for the world. And He has the solutions worked out. He has maps that tell us how to go, and all these things are in place. And we can turn to God and ask Him to show us all of His different things. Show us His maps, show us His vision, show us His world, show us what He has in mind. Show us your vision, Lord. Let us move up to a transcendent position where we can look down and see the world as God intends for it to move, and what is taking place here and there in this country and that country, and how God wants that to move, how He wants the countries to move toward each other in understanding and peace and prosperity, and what He has in mind and what the solutions are. We can get that if we enlarge our mind, if we do, as I said, set our mind on fire. Set our mind on the fire of God and His love and His power and His glory, and continue to think about God as a burning fire, as a light that is more powerful than 10,000 suns, and realize that that great light and that great fire is setting the world on fire even now. All the great fermentation and travail and all the other bubbling up of all the countries in the world, that's part of all of it. That's part of it. But it can look much different if we don't see it from a transcendent point of view, from a point of view of the vision of God. If we don't get that real vantage point to see, well, what are you doing with all these different hot spots and all these different things bubbling over, and all these different areas of fermentation, where it is fermenting more bubbly than the oldest wine and the finest wine, but it's just fermenting and looking like it's headed to just boil over and create all kinds of difficulties and problems. Doesn't seem to be headed toward the direction of any real good, and hatred's boiling over and all this kind of thing. Well, it's all that is the process people are undergoing in raising their consciousness up to a point where they're going to be the real creative people with passion that they should be. They're in the process. We're all in the process of raising our consciousness, and a lot of times all that fermentation has to take place in order to give us the motive and the motivation to just not just sit down and live in our own little world because everything's going along peacefully at the time. But we're able to keep our mind boiling, and keep our mind raising its thoughts, and keep our mind setting itself on fire, and keep our mind asking for more light, and asking God to do more in our brain and our mind and our soul, to ask Him to enlarge our love. When there's a lot of hatred going on, you have to enlarge your love. That's the way God has of apportioned us to enjoy, to raise our love, to enlarge our love. Oh, yes. When there's all these problems, such as the viruses and the things that are, countries setting things loose on the rest of the world, and all these kind of things going on, that is God telling us to enlarge our vision of healing power and how He can heal all these difficulties. They all start with people living in darkness and that are, they're allowing the darkness to take over, and they're allowing the darkness to fester their hatreds, and they're in their area of their mind of that suspicion, superstition, suspicion, and hatred arises all of this fermentation that causes them to begin to create all the problems in the world, and all of those problems will be solved as everyone upon the face of this world begins to raise their vision and their understanding, and begins to raise their consciousness above the mundane, and begins to see that actually the power of love and understanding and communication, those all go in. You can take those all together. Just take love, communication, and what did I just say? Love and communication and inspiration and enlarging your mind. Put those all together and shake those all up, and let that begin to give you a larger vision than you've had before. Go to God, tell him, he say, Lord, I see what is going on in all these different countries. I see what's going on in my own country. What is the meaning of all of this? What's the meaning? What does it mean? And why is it happening? And he will give you the understanding. He will tell you. He will bring the wisdom to your mind to understand what is really happening with all these things, and how he's using all that. Using some of it, at least, for his own glory. In the end, it's going to turn out to be for God's glory. We just don't see that at the time. So God is working now to raise people's consciousness, their awareness. He's working to set their mind on fire. He's working to enlarge their vision. He's working to keep them desiring to move up, to keep them desiring to not just become complacent. Everything should show us that we do not ever need to be complacent, that we always have to be transcendent, and that we always have to be enlarging our vision, that we always have to be growing. Everything is getting us to grow into a higher state of being. And then as certain people on the earth begin to get into a greater state of being, then they exercise their love and their joy, and further raise their consciousness by helping to raise other people up to see the same vision, to help other people to be able to move into that same vision. We exercise our love through helping other people to gain more love. And all of that becomes a part of the plan to enlarge everybody's vision and to raise everybody's consciousness. And so how do we gain that inspiration that we need? How do we gain that larger vision? How do we get a larger vision then? That's by beginning to let everything that is going on in our world, like each one of them, A, B, C, D, E, F, F, put them all down in this text. Let each one of them begin to, in their own way, cause us to be to have a hunger for more of God, and to have a hunger for more understanding, and to motivate us to higher creativity, and then motivate us to reach more out to God, for the answers, because the only answer, we know that we can't get the answers any other way. We see that we have to reach out to God. We have to enlarge our vision. We have to become better people just in order to solve these problems. That is one of the problems in our government now, is people don't see that in order to solve these problems, whether it's hatred, poverty, prejudice, not enough opportunity for certain people, all these things, it is a matter of them becoming a better person. They cannot solve the problems of this country now. They're so great that there's no way they can solve all these problems without becoming a better person. They've got to leave behind their unscrupulousness and their lies and their deceptions, and and their utilization of all kinds of false things or whatever they have to do. Political. What I'm saying, being politically Machiavellian. It doesn't matter, as long as it brings me happiness in my own circle, and as long as it lifts up my own little circle, as long as it lifts up my power, and as long as I gain from it materially and everything, and looking at things that way and like a chessboard, and saying, well, if I move all these things this way, then that'll bring all the success and power over to my way, and then maybe later on somewhere down there I'll grow to the point where I'll use all that success to help the country to I will actually pour out some blessings upon the people that really need it in the country after I grow a little bit. But no, we have to go ahead and raise ourselves to be better people so that we have the vision to know what to do, to solve the problems of the country, irregardless of what that does for us in our own personal world. We have to be able to solve these problems in the country in the right way, according to the principles of God. And as I say, we have to see God's vision for it and see what he's working and how he's working it out and what he's doing, and begin to get in that and solve the problems according to the way God has set aside for them to be solved. It's not our own political party or our own political power or our own political advantage, but it's what is God's plan for solving these problems. God's plan is to have more love, to have more vision, to have more communication, to have more compassion, to have more sentient ability and sensible ability to understand other people's position, and just a general communication. I think I left that out a while ago on the love and the love and the vision and the communication, putting that all into one package to begin to lift our consciousness to see how we are going to bring everybody together. It takes all of it. It's not just political power. Nobody's political power and nobody's money, nobody's influence is going to solve these problems. You don't have anybody or any group of people that have so much influence that they're going to be able to solve these problems just through their influence. Nobody has enough money to solve all these problems we have in the country today just through their money. Nobody has enough political power to solve these problems. They can keep on wanting to get more and more power, get the Congress all on one side, and the Senate all on one side, and all these other things they think is going to happen. When they get all that, then they'll have enough power to solve all the problems. It's not going to work. Not going to work unless you get into the vision that God has for the country. And that'll do more than all the political power, all the money, all of the influence and everything put together to solve these problems. And so how do we then enlarge our vision to the point where we can solve the problems not only of our own country, but of the world? We have to begin, to pray and ask God to tell us what his real plan is for the world and for our nation. And then ask God, how do I fit in to that plan? And what is the very best I can do within the confines of that plan? And how can I best be suitable for that plan? In other words, like it's been expressed, what is my place in history? If you try to do something that is not where you are in history, and not what is, it is not your place, and not the particular place in time for it, just in order to gain your own advantage, or just to gain a legacy for yourself, as noble as that is to want to gain a legacy. If you try to do that and you're in the wrong place and time, and you don't see that you're in the wrong place and time for that, then it's going to come to naught. If you don't see that you have to get in God's vision and work with him, then you're in the wrong place, and then things are not going to work out. So I'm going to pray for everybody that's now, that they'll get the vision to be in the right place at the right time, that they'll get the vision to work with the God the way they have to, and that they'll get the vision for healing. They'll get the vision of how to raise people up out of all their problems. Right now, in the name of Jesus, I pray, in the name of thy blessed Holy Son, Jesus, bless everybody and give them vision, give them healing power, lift them up out of their problems, give them all kind of love and peace and power. In the name of thy Holy Son, Jesus, amen.